Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Troy Moore Library here at Georgia State University. This is an evening that we dedicated to demonstrating a prayer in Igbo culture, Iwoji, and Itumanya ceremony. To my right, we have the facilitator of this event, Ashley. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Ashley Chamey McNeil. I am a Student Innovation Fellow with the Center of Excellence for Teaching and Learning. And this is the second project that I have been very privileged and honored to work with Obie on. And I'm learning so much. And this was a fascinating evening. And I feel so blessed to be here to participate.
Thank you very much. And to my left is Stephen. Please, Stephen, introduce yourself.
Thank you, Obie. My name is Stephen Shields. I am also a Student Innovation Scholar here at Georgia State University, as well as pursuing my master's degree in religious studies. And this was a fascinating experience and something that I otherwise would have not necessarily seen, even in the Master's of Religious Studies. Being able to experience a ritual like that firsthand and have somebody explain it to the ability that Obie can was truly an exceptional experience, and I thank you for that. And I do have some interesting follow-up questions. I noticed that there was a certain degree of not necessarily overlap, but relation that you made with Christianity due to the colonization process, whether some people might choose to thank Jesus at the end, or just the simple comparison of the kola nut to being like communion within Christianity. Was that direct relationship there throughout Igbo history, or is that something that was a direct result of the colonial experience to try to make it as simple as possible?
No, that's it's a happy coincidence, I should say. Our ancestors have practiced this belief system from time out of memory, long before the British explorers made their way down to our homeland in southeast Nigeria. So it's a complete coincidence. There's no transference of culture or any such thing. It's just a coincidence. But I think that speaks more to the common humanity we share and our desire to make contact and connection with the supernatural. And we have these emblems that coincide across cultures, across religious backgrounds. And these are a few examples of where we have that connection. But it's not a matter of any colonial influence at all.
Just like you say, a result of common human experience that is evident across cultures. So
Right.
I have one question.
Yes.
I thought that one of the really beautiful and sweet moments in the question and answer session after the ceremony was we had a very young woman, a girl, who was also a participant in the audience this evening. She was, I don't know, maybe around 12 years old, so a schoolgirl, and she asked you why it was that only men perform the ceremony usually and reach their hand, into the tray to get the kola nut, and you explained to her very thoroughly and with great aptitude how this is kind of a world history thing, that that patriarchal societies have always been, right? And I'm just wondering if you could speak to your, how you felt when this girl asked you that, right? And if you see any changes on the horizon, perhaps in the coming generations for Igbo people and culture when we speak about gender relations.
Okay. I think that Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie will be happy to hear this question. Yes. Because she's an Igbo girl.
Yep.
And she's a world-known feminist, and she has done a great deal of work which we appreciate in promoting our culture and giving it awareness across the world. But as far as I know, there is no effort or movement that I'm aware of that is aimed at trying to remove some of the barriers that prohibit women from participating at certain levels of the culture. And I think that even if anyone attempted to, the culture as I know it today would be very resistant to make such change. But I've also seen some areas that are not strictly spiritual but sacred, that women have been able to cross the bridge, if I may put it that way. One example is the wine that we use today is a palm wine, and it's a produce of the oil palm tree. Now, to collect the wine, you have to climb up the tree, which is maybe 20 to 35 feet, depending on the age of the tree. And usually overnight, you top the tree and set your container, and the liquid trickles from the sap of the palm tree. And by morning, you have a reasonable quantity of wine. Now, it is considered sacred in the sense that only women were allowed to go, only men were allowed to go up the palm tree and tap the palm wine. You will never see anyone, it was forbidding in the culture to see a woman go up the palm tree. But in the past few years, I have seen pictures on the internet where a woman is a palm wine tapper. That's what we call them for short. And there's been a very healthy debate about that. And, what stops a woman from this more or less an agricultural practice just to go and harvest something from a tree. And as far as that goes, that's the only type of barriers that I've seen that women in general have been able to transcend. But for the more deeply spiritual aspect of our culture, I think that the men will be very resistant to make any such changes at this time. Yeah. Okay. Do we have any questions?
Yes, I can ask you another question here. As you were talking, I think we briefly touched on it yesterday, but there's obviously been the Igbo diaspora, and your culture is now spread out, across the world. What would you say is the biggest hurdle for younger generations to be able to grab that culture, to make it part of their identity, and to not have it be lost as a result of being spread out? Is it education? Is it access to a community that still practices? What would you, in an ideal world, to preserve your culture, how would you say it could be done in the best manner?
That's a very interesting question, and I think it's a little bit of both education and having a community that promotes and encourages the culture. And I can speak from my experience as a person. It is more my education that led me to where I am today, where I was able to read the Bible. First of all my life, I read the Bible as a person, and I was very much a church boy all my life. But as I got older, I asked myself questions, not unlike the questions that philosophers, Sophocles, Euripides have asked these questions all through history, Iliad, Odyssey. If we have a providential God, how do we account for all the chaos and carnage in the world? Why do our children die of blood cancer? And if you are humble, you offer the sacrifices, you obey the gods, you do all the right things, you do it all the time, dreadful things can still happen to you. So these are some of the questions that I asked myself. And I did not think that the religious background that I had, which was Christianity, provided me with the answers, given the methodology that they used, that they employed. And I started searching for answers, and that led me to where I am today. And I think to encapsulate it, my philosophy is relativism. Every culture and every religion is valid in its own way, and I don't think that running away from our culture and the belief systems of our ancestors and embracing the Western culture, Christianity or any other religion for that matter, was a way to advance our culture or our identity as a people. So my education has helped me to look for answers and to see that all these religions and belief systems, including even science, we struggle with these questions. Yeah. And having this community, the Igbo community in Atlanta, has been a very huge support for me and the group. And all these young men that you see here and women, we're all part of this group, and we work hard on it. So we can say with a measure of confidence that having a community and having educated people who are able to understand that it is okay to challenge your idea and beliefs, and that it is not a sin to challenge and question your belief. It's a good thing to do. It's a healthy thing to do. So both education and a community all work together to help us advance the culture.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Obie, for bringing, your students in your community here to, 25 Park Place of Georgia State University, because it's an honor. And Stephen and I certainly look forward to hopefully continuing these kinds of recordings and classes, because it has been nothing short of breathtaking. So we thank you for your work and for your contributions and your commitment, right?
Thank you.
To education and to your communities. You're an inspiration.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ashley. It's been my pleasure to work with you.
Thank
We're
you.
excited for
I
the
look
future.
forward to
Yes.
For our next conversation.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.